Hola, ¿qué tal, amigos? Aquí estamos otra vez con Profesor Pablo. Learn Spanish fast with Profesor Pablo. Talk about fast. We went all the way through the present tense in 2 hours, 120 minutes. I added up all the time for all the 8 videos on the present tense, and we come to 2 hours, 120 minutes. Either way you look at it. That's a lot of time, and it's not a lot of time. If you think that you spent 2 hours on it and you're completing 1/3 of our foundation. Remember, the foundation for Spanish for future success is based on all the present tense, the preterite past, which is upcoming, and the infinitives. We know how to use infinitives. Trabajar, hablar, comer, vivir. We know how to use infinitives already. Pretend we're looking at an engine. Back in the day, most cars were V8. Now there's a lot of 4 cylinders, 6 cylinders, and who knows what. But back in the day, if you opened up a hood and looked at an engine, there was a left side and a right side and a middle. Pretend the left side is all the present tense. Pretend the right side is all the preterite past tense. And right in between those two, that big metal heavy thing called the manifold, say that's the infinitives. So we have the present, the preterite, and the infinitives. That's the bulk of the engine that's going to drive the vehicle of communication. Of course, there's all sorts of wires and pumps and hoses, heaters, all sorts of other things that are connected to the bottom, the side, and the top of the engine. But once we get the present tense under control and the preterite past and infinitives, we already have infinitives under control, and now we have the present under control. The last big part of the engine would be the preterite past, and we're getting there. I said these lessons are nitty-gritty. You just got to grind it out. You can't build a house without a strong foundation. Otherwise, the house will fall asunder. You need a strong basis, a strong foundation. And this is what we have. This is a quick summary of what you have already learned. These are the different parts. We had 8 lessons. We had regular verbs. We had stem-changing verbs. We had E to IE, O to UE, E to I. We remember that this changes in the stem. The stem is the front part of the verb before you get to the ending, right? The stem. When does this change happen? In all but nosotros, ABN. We have our irregular verbs, like we have estoy, soy, voy, doy, and then we have say for saber. We just learned that in another lesson, but earlier with irregular verbs. And then we have capo, I fit, with the verb caber. Estoy, soy, voy, and doy. There are 4 verbs in the present tense yo form that end in oy. Okay? And then we have say, that doesn't end in o. And we have capo, it does end in o, but it's po. It's just off by itself. So we threw it in here with the irregular verbs. Estoy from estar. Soy from the verb ser, which we're going to hit really hard real soon. Doy from the verb dar, to give. Voy from the verb ir, to go. Say from saber, to know. And capo from caber, to fit. Like, yo no capo, I don't fit. We did our go verbs, right? When does the go happen? Only in the yo form. Hago, salgo, digo, vengo, pongo, traigo, caigo, right? We have our go verbs, and they are critical. You're going to see how much we use those coming up shortly. When does the go happen? Only in the yo form. So take a verb like the verb tener. It's tengo. Then the rest of it is tienes, tiene, tenemos, and tienen. They're separate. You have to learn them. That's why we call it nitty-gritty, because they're not all regular verbs like hablar. I talk, hablo, you talk, hablas, he or she talks, habla, we talk, hablamos, and they talk, hablan. Regular verbs are over 90% of the verbs in the Spanish language. They are regular. However, the few that are irregular and stem changing, they play a huge role, a bigger role than the percentage of how many verbs there are of them in the entire language. They play a huge role. So we have to learn them. Again, nitty-gritty, laying the foundation, doing the hard work, doing the hard work. How do you become a champion? You work hard and you stick to it. And we want to be champions with Spanish. So we have our ZC verbs, like conozco, conocer, to know people. I know him, lo conozco a él. I do not know her, no la conozco. The ZC happens like the go verbs, only in the yo form. Conozco, produzco, I produce, traduzco, I translate, merezco, I deserve. There are only a handful of ZC verbs in total, but there's only a few that we really care about. Conozco, merezco, traduzco, produzco, that'll work. Then, when we got to all the rest, it's kind of a catch-all category. Let's start with jugar. Jugar is, instead of O to UE, it's going to be U to UE. When does it happen? All but nosotros. So if I want to say I play, it would be JUE, juego, juegas, juega, all but nosotros. You take jugar, take the AR off, and add amos. Jugamos. And then to say they play or ustedes you play, you're going to change that U to UE and add AN. Juegan, juegan. Juego, juegas, juega, jugamos, juegan. So the UE is here, 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 and here. Listen. Juego, juegas, juega, juegan. But here we don't change it. All but nosotros. Jugamos. That's the verb jugar. We have some accented U verbs, very, very few. The two main ones are graduarse, to graduate, and continuar, to continue. Graduarse, it's a reflexive verb, so let's go with me. I graduate this June. Me graduo, but the U has an accent mark right here. Why does it have an accent mark on all but nosotros? To break up the diphthong, so you hear the U and the O separately. Me graduo, me graduo. You graduate, te gradúas, with an accent on the U. He se gradúa. They se gradúan, all with an accent. But when you get to the we graduate in June. Nos graduamos en junio. There is no accent mark. So your accented U verbs change in all but nosotros. Let's take continuar. It continues tomorrow. Well, we know it's going to be an A for it. Okay, so we've got to change that U. Continuar, continua, accent on the U. It continues, continua. They continue, continúan, accent. I continue, continuo, accent on the U. You continue, continúas, accent on the U. Say it like you mean it. Be confident. The tips and the tricks are here. Be confident with your Spanish. You know it's correct. Just go for it. Strike out. Okay, let's go over accented I. Not too many verbs with an accented I. We're going to look at one. Enviar is to send. Enviar is to send. E-N-V-I-A-R. I send would be envío with an accent on the I. All but nosotros. So I send money would be envío. You send, envías, accent on the I. She or he sends, or usted, you send, envía, accent on the I. They send, envían, accent on the I. But we send is enviamos, no accent. Remember, the accent on the U and the accent on the I is to break up the diphthong. What is a diphthong? A diphthong is two vowels together forming one sound. We want those two vowels to sound like two vowels. That's why it's U-A and I-A. So, we've hit it all. That's it. Regular verbs. Okay, let's take the verb hablar. Hablo, hablas, habla, hablamos, hablan. Let's take the verb comer, to eat. I eat, como. You eat, comes. She eats, come. We eat, comemos, and they eat, comen. Let's take the verb vivir, V-I-V-I-R, to live. Remember, the we form of IR verbs is imos. I live, vivo. You live, vives. I live in Pennsylvania. Yo vivo en Pennsylvania. You live in Texas. Tú vives en Texas. She lives in Missouri. Ella vive en Missouri. We live in Oregon. Vivimos en Oregon. They live in Montana. Viven en Montana. Regular verbs, gracias a Dios. Thank goodness that most verbs in the Spanish language are regular, but all these crazy stem changers and irregulars and the accented I and the U, the ones we've mentioned, jugar, they're going to pop up like popcorn in a skillet. Go verbs, irregular verbs. Stem changing verbs, we know they change all but nosotros, ir a ahí. The verb empezar, I start, empiezo. You start, empiezas. He starts, empieza. They start empiezan, but we start, there's no stem change, it's empezamos. Let's take the verb poder, to be able to. Like you say, I can or I can't. It would be puedo, puedes, puede, pueden, but the we is podemos. It doesn't stem change. Let's take the verb recibir, to get, to receive. I get, recibo. You get, recibes. She gets, recibe. We receive, recibimos, and they receive, reciben. There are the stem changers. The irregulars again. Estoy, voy, doy. Estoy, voy, doy, and soy. There are 4 of them. They end in OY. That's why they're irregular, because they end in a Y. No other verbs end in a Y. And then we have say, from saber, I know, yo sé. That doesn't end in O, so it makes it irregular. So that's 5 irregulars. And we throw caber, capo, I fit, because it ends in a PO. Okay? And the verb is a BER verb. Caber, but it's capo, but the rest of the verb is regular. Cabes, you fit. It doesn't fit, no cabe. We don't fit, no cabemos. And they don't fit, no caben. That's to fit, but not for clothing. Anything other than clothing, like it doesn't fit in the box. It doesn't fit in the closet. No cabe. We have our go verbs. Hago, salgo, digo, pongo, vengo, traigo, caigo. When do they change? When does the go appear? Only in the yo form. The ZC verbs. Conozco, merezco, traduzco, produzco. When does that happen? Only in the yo form. Our accented U and accented I happens all but nosotros. Jugar, when does the UE happen? All but nosotros. So that's it. Think of that engine. Look at that engine, the whole left bank of the engine. The big part of the engine. When you open up that hood and you look down to the left side, right? You look down to the left side and that whole big left chunk, that's our foundation, the present. The other part is going to be, the other right side of the engine is going to be the preterite, past, upcoming. And then the middle top part of the engine, before you add all those crazy things and wires and cables and who knows what on top, those are the infinitives. And from the present, preterite, and infinitives, we build the rest of our language. That, ladies and gentlemen, is our foundation. So today's lesson hopefully was quick. I think we're about the 14-minute mark. We're not tearing the engine apart. We already did that in the first 8 lessons. We tore the engine apart. We put it back together. We showed you how to do it. Today, all we're doing is pulling out the dipstick and checking the oil level. That oil level is reflective of your knowledge of Spanish. Is that oil level at the top, full, or is it down at the bottom? If your understanding and knowledge and skill with the present tense isn't up to the top, you need to fill it to the top, then you need to go back, put that dipstick, wipe it off, put it back in the engine, go back and review whatever lesson it is that you may need to review. And then go back, pull that dipstick out, take a look at it. Wow, you're right here at the top where you're supposed to be. That's it. Now, mi amigo Frank. Este señor aquí es mi gran amigo. This man here is my great friend. Es mi gran amigo since I was a kid. Desde cuando, since when. Desde cuando yo era niño. Frank se llama Frank. Oh, Frankie, ¿verdad? Su inicial es N. His initial is N. Frank N. Dot. Su apellido, his last name is Stein. Su apellido es Stein. Su nombre completo, his complete name, Frank N. Stein. Es mi amigo, me gusta. Pero Frankie no habla inglés. Frankie no habla español. Frankie no baila. Frankie es alto. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar era alto. LeBron James es alto. Frankie es muy alto. Es muy fuerte. Fuerte, strong. Es muy fuerte. Es muy grande. He's really big. Es muy grande. Pero es una historia muy triste. It's a very sad story. Es una historia muy triste. Frankenstein, Frank, no habla. Frank dice, "Ah, habla, grita, he shouts, grita, grita. Pobrecito Frank. Dicen que, they say that, dicen que Frankie es un monstruo. They say he's a monster. Can you believe that poor guy? Dicen que es un monstruo. But he's not to blame. No tiene la culpa. Frankenstein no tiene la culpa, ¿verdad? El doctor Frankenstein, Dr. Frankenstein, tiene la culpa. Pero Frankenstein es mi amigo, es nuestro amigo. Él se llama Frank, yo me llamo Pablo. Él se llama Frank, yo me llamo Pablo. ¿Ok? Muy bien. Gracias por estar aquí con nosotros. Thanks for being here with us, Frank and I. Frank y yo. Gracias por estar aquí con nosotros. Look, the nitty-gritty, 1/3 of the foundation, actually 2/3 of the foundation has already been laid. It's there. Infinitives in the present tense. Make sure when you check your dipstick, pull it out, clean it off, stick it back in, pull it out, and take a look where your oil level is, your knowledge, your skill level. If it's up at the top mark, that means you're ready to go. Your present tense, you're ready. You're ready for the NCAA championships. You're ready for the Super Bowl. You're ready for the World Series. You are ready for la Copa Mundial, el Mundialazo, right? The World Cup. Las Olimpiadas, the Olympics. If your level is up at the top, you are ready to go, and I congratulate you. Then you can just wipe that stick off again, stick it in the engine, and you know what? You're not going to have to be pulling the dipstick out to check. But if you're sputtering, if your engine is sputtering a little bit with the present tense, remember, it's the foundation. You have to master the foundation. Okay? All right, that's it. Gracias por todo. Hasta pronto. This is Profesor signing off. Cambio fuera means over and out. Cambio fuera, over and out. And remember, in English, snip, snap, snout. This story is all told out. In Spanish, colorín colorado. Este cuento, this story, this tale, este cuento se ha acabado. Colorín colorado, este cuento se ha acabado. If you're interested in great expressions, go to profesorpablo.com. Check it out, profesorpablo.com. I have over 500 pages of an ebook. It has vocabulary lists. It has grammar explanations. It has all of our communicative lessons. It has dialogues. It has grammar charts. There's survival Spanish, useful expressions. Everything's organized alphabetically, English to Spanish, from basic to advanced. I used to sell the program for $50. It's been lowered to $30. And for you, YouTube learners, there is a promo code. If you're interested, just put in Pablo50 and you can get the whole system for $15. A hamburger, fries, and a chocolate shake. And you get over 500 pages. It can be on your computer, put it on your tablet, put it on your phone, take it with you wherever you go, listen to it on your car stereo system. But check it out. Go to profesorpablo.com. All sorts of examples what the program is all about. And let me know what you think. And please keep sending in those comments. I'd like to hear who you are and where you're from. What city, what state, what country. We have people from out of the country. We have people in the United States. I'm very interested, and I thank you very humbly. Gracias, gracias. Okay, see ya. Hasta luego. Bye.